there's a lot of talk about your relationship with Shaquille O'Neal during that time in Miami. You got to coach with Dwyane Wade. Can you give us a couple stories about those two Hall of Famers, about D Wade and Shaq, and let us know, what it was like for you to coach those stars?
Yeah, look, I mean, I remember, again, I keep quoting him, but we were at Patrick Ewing's Hall of Fame induction in, I want to say 2007. We were at Patrick Ewing's Hall of Fame induction, and Pat had played for my brother and worked for him in Houston as an assistant coach. And then I was fortunate to have Patrick on my staff in Orlando. So we're at his Hall of Fame induction, and Pat Riley went in the same year. And Jeff and I are sitting there, and as Pat was being inducted, Pat Riley, Jeff said, "You know what? You know how you get in the Hall of Fame as a coach? You coach guys," and he pointed at Patrick Ewing. He goes, "You coach guys like that who've gotten in the Hall of Fame as players." And that's exactly right. And I was, beyond fortunate. So my first job, I've got Dwyane Wade as a rookie, and got to see. I had coached Dwyane in summer league that year as an assistant, because I didn't get the job till the end of Pat stepped down after our last exhibition game. So I had coached him in the summer. We knew he was special. He was even better than we thought he was going to be when we drafted him. And, here's the thing. Dwyane Wade's very first playoff game, we're playing against Baron Davis and the Hornets. And we're going to we're holding for the last shot of the game, And Dwyane Wade's a rookie. I had Eddie Jones, Brian Grant. I mean, we had a pretty good team, And I go to Dwyane Wade, and sure enough, scores on Baron Davis with, 0.4 of a second to go. That was, to me, like, from the beginning, like, that's who Dwyane Wade was. Biggest situations, he had a mentality of just great composure, great skill. I still say to this day, knowing I'm a little bit biased, you give me any player in NBA history the ball in that situation late in the game, I'm taking Dwyane Wade.
Ooh,
he was a master.
Wow.
No, I am. I'm taking Dwyane Wade because he was just a master of the situation. Like, he left Charlotte 0.4 of a second at the other end to come back. I think that's probably the most he ever left another team to come back. No, he was, like, you put him in that situation, especially score tied, it was going to be make or miss for Dwyane Wade. Like, you weren't getting another shot. The guy knew the clock. He was smart. And he was maybe the quickest learner that I've ever been around. And I've been around some really, really smart guys. But, Eric Spoelstra at that time was an assistant for me, and he was the guy who worked with Dwyane every day. And they would go and work on something for 45 minutes after practice, and maybe even at half speed. And the next night, you would see it in a game. You're normally talking, as you know, Ante, playing, you're talking years and years and years of reps before you're ready to put that in a game, particularly at the NBA level. And Dwyane could just pick stuff up and apply it to the game. I mean, he was an absolute master. And then to know him then and to see him now, the kind of person he is, how lucky I was to have him his first year. With his, daughter and the whole thing. It just, the stuff he stands for, he and his wife, great person, great coach. And then Shaq, bigger than life. And Shaq didn't always love me, Shaq didn't always love me and the whole thing. But Shaq was all about the team and let me do my job. And he was great. That was the last year of his career that he averaged 20 and 10. I thought in 2005 I think Steve Nash got it, who was a great player. I think Shaq should have been the MVP, the way he lifted our team. And again, another guy who maybe quietly. I mean, you see Shaq. Shaq doesn't do much quietly. Like he's everywhere.
No.
Like he's everywhere. If there's a commercial, Shaq's in it. Like I don't know, are there 5 products in the world that Shaq doesn't endorse? But the quiet part is Shaq does so much for so many people quietly. I mean, he's just been one of the more giving former athletes there's ever been. And so I look back on the opportunity to coach those guys early in my career, Hall of Fame level guys, but great people too, and plenty more that wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but were great players and great people. And, you know, I'm just, as I've said so many times already on this podcast, I mean, I've just been so lucky with the people that I've been around.
You know, Stan, it's funny because you've coached so many great players and coached with great coaches along the way, but you've also coached against great players. And I always felt like, and I know Ante feels the same way, that Orlando Magic team with Dwight Howard, you guys should have at least 1 ring, but you ran into a buzzsaw of the late, great Kobe Bryant. I mean, take me back to prepping to go against Kobe Bryant. Did you lose sleep, Coach?
Well, listen, I mean, there's nothing in the NBA as far as coaching that'll humble you quicker than the great players you have to go up against. You know, you sit down and you and your assistants are, you know, poring over film and spending hours and hours and hours to come up with game plans, and you're so confident that, you know, this is how we have to go, and then you run into those guys and they just shatter everything you thought. You get LeBron, you play against LeBron, you play against Kobe, and it's hard to even think you're smart anymore. You know, after a while, you're like, oh my God, I mean, I'm an idiot. I can't figure out anything. But look, those years were tough because, you know, in the East in those years, it was us. It was the Celtics in the, you know, the Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo days. And it was Cleveland with LeBron. And so it was a tough time to get through. And then, you know, whichever one of us got through it, then you had to run into Kobe and the Lakers. And, you know, Doc and the Celtics got past them in, you know, in 2008. And then the Lakers beat us 2009, beat the Celtics 2010. I mean, it was a tough competitive time, but yeah, the respect you gain, and not just with the teams who beat you in finals or the conference finals, but just the number of great coaches and great players you go up against. And quite honestly, like, you usually hate each other while you're going through the times. You know, you hate each other. You're like, those guys, you know, and then years later you look back and the respect that you have for them and the competition in those series. I remember Dan Marley, like we used to have those Knicks Heat series that were legendary because we met every year and it was the old time NBA. They were physical. And so every year Dan Marley would be matched up against Allen Houston, and somebody writing you know, looking back, and one of the writers, I think in New York, was writing about those series and asked Dan Marley what Allen Houston and he used to say to each other in those games. And he said in all those years, we never said one word to each other.
Wow.
Not one word. Not trash talk, not nice shot, not nothing. Like, that was enemy. You were out there competing and the whole thing. But I guarantee you, and I've never really talked to either one of them specifically about it, I guarantee you those guys have tremendous respect. I mean, you know, it's when you're up against the best and you're giving your best, they're giving their best, the respect you have for them is unbelievable.